fight against the pandemic. Now, it has been a remarkable first 83 days in the Biden administration's COVID vaccination program. But today, the first real big issue. Probably saw this news. The FDA and CDC are pausing administration of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine after some recipients of that vaccine experienced extremely rare blood clots. Now, as of yesterday, more than 6.8 million people had received the Johnson & Johnson shot so far. The number of people who have been found to have suffered from this rare clotting disorder is 6, literally less than 1 in a million. We know that all 6 of those folks were women between the ages of 18 to 48, that one woman died. Another in Nebraska has been hospitalized in critical condition. Now, today, officials from the FDA and CDC stressed the pause was out of an abundance of caution, that they expect to last only a few days while they reviewed the situation and came up with recommendations to treat blood clots if they do occur after vaccination, especially, and I think this is key, because in this particular case, the standard treatment for blood clots could actually make things worse with these clots that have been developing in these 6 patients. In a statement, Johnson & Johnson said that no clear causal relationship has been established between the vaccine and the blood clots. And then in a later statement, the company added it was delaying the rollout of the vaccine in Europe and pausing vaccine clinical trials while awaiting guidance. Now, again, 6 people out of nearly 7 million folks who've gotten the shot. As many pointed out today, it's a very small risk compared to, for example, the risk of blood clots from taking certain birth control pills or from actually getting COVID. Here are the numbers. The chances of blood clots from the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, based on what we know now, are less than 1 in a million. For certain birth control pills, according to the FDA, the chances of blood clots are closer to 6 in 10,000. The chances of blood clots if you are hospitalized with COVID itself are about 1 in 20. And just to put this news into some perspective, Politico is reporting Biden officials are bracing for the possibility of a weeks-long disruption to the Johnson & Johnson vaccine supply, which comes or could come on the heels of that factory mix-up, the one in Baltimore that ruined up to 15 million doses of the vaccine a couple of weeks ago. That said, White House COVID response coordinator Jeff Zients said today no matter what happens to the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, the Biden vaccine plan remains on track.
We believe there's enough vaccine in the system, Moderna and Pfizer, for all Americans who want to get vaccinated by May 31st to do so.
Now, not long after he made those comments, the CEO of Pfizer piped up to say that his company can deliver 10% more Pfizer doses than previously agreed to by the end of May, which should help make up for the shortfall. Keep in mind, those extra 10% doses are more than Johnson & Johnson have been administered altogether, okay? Johnson & Johnson's been a very small sliver of American vaccination thus far. The pause on the use of Johnson & Johnson vaccine was technically just a recommendation from those government agencies, but most states immediately halted use of the single-dose vaccine, along with major pharmacies, the U.S. military. Most Americans with Johnson & Johnson shots scheduled in the coming days saw them canceled or rescheduled, some states quickly switching those people to other available vaccines. Today, Dr. Anthony Fauci said that anyone who got the Johnson & Johnson vaccine more than 2 weeks ago should be in the clear.
So someone who maybe had it a month or 2 ago would say, what does this mean for me? It really doesn't mean anything. You're okay, because if you look at the time frame when this occurs, it's pretty tight, from a few days, 6 to 13 days from the time of the vaccination.
Dr. Fauci is actually going to be joining us right here in just a few minutes to discuss all this. So right now, we got 3 vaccines available in the U.S., Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson. Pfizer and Moderna vaccines, as you might know, they use this new kind of technology called messenger RNA, mRNA. It basically is like computer code injected into our body that teaches our cells how to make a little protein that triggers the immune response to get our body making the antibodies to fight off COVID. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine is not like that. It's like the attenuated virus of traditional vaccines, right? And it, along with a vaccine developed by AstraZeneca and Oxford, which is not available here, but is available in Europe, they do not use mRNA. Now, here's an important thing. Regulators in Europe have seen similar and similarly rare blood clot issues with that AstraZeneca vaccine. That resulted in temporary halts in the use of that vaccine last month in many European countries. All right, so now we're in a holding pattern. waiting to see the results of this pause, waiting to see if this is isolated and rare as it appears, or if maybe there's more cases. Now, the decision to pause the use of Johnson & Johnson vaccine was made, it appears, fairly independently by the FDA and CDC. Get this. In fact, the White House COVID response coordinator, that guy, Jeff Zients, who's responsible for all this, said today he only found out about it last night. You got to imagine that was not a great call to get if you're Jeff Zients. That independence, we should note, right, reflects a kind of promises kept on the part of the Biden administration, which campaigned on restoring the independence of scientific agencies. Generally a good thing. At the same time, one of the most difficult challenges facing officials from the very beginning of this pandemic, and that goes back to late January, early February last year, right? How to make high-stakes decisions under conditions of uncertainty with incomplete information, no clear roadmap. It's not easy. You could argue this is the right decision, that allowing Johnson & Johnson vaccinations to continue would have resulted in more people having serious complications and also in more vaccine hesitancy across the board, as, inevitably stories started to get out about the folks that had experienced this particular side effect and the FDA doing nothing. You could also argue on the other end, right, that this enormous announcement, phone notifications and whatnot, calling attention to side effects for what at this point is an almost infinitesimally small percentage of the population will only serve to amplify vaccine concerns and also ultimately make things worse. Not any easy calls in either direction.